That's right. Yes, you're going. Been gone for ages, already gone. Still here, just arrived. Haven't even met you yet. It all depends on who you are and how you look at it. Strange business time. Think about me when you're living your life one day after another, all in a neat pattern. Think about the homeless traveller and his old police box. His day like crazy paving. Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about Dragonfire, written by Ian Briggs and is directed by Chris Clout. As you can see, I got the strange DVD than the actual version of it. This is another 3-part story, and it is notoriously known for being not particularly good in the sense of, in that it has a lot of issues, particularly one moment in particular which we will get onto. And that one scene alone has put this story above and beyond as one of the strangest and sadly one of the weakest stories of the series. I actually don't think it's that bad. Sure, the script is, if we're going to be frankly honest here, terrible, but there's a lot of stuff to like here. This story also sees the departure of Bonnie Lanford as Melody Bush, and it also sees the start of one Sophie Aldred as the companion, Ace, Dorothy, in fact, who would become the last companion of the classic series. And she is a huge fan favourite. And every right to be, don't get me wrong, but I don't think that this is a good starting off point for her. Maybe, like, the next story, she gets a lot better, but here, I don't think it did her. Well, I'd say that, it does. There are some really great moments with her, but there is stuff that's left to be desired with her, in my opinion. It also sees the return of Solomon Glitz, who appeared in the terms of the TV appearances, in the last season in the Trial of the Time Lord, specifically the Impossible Planet and the Ultimate Foe. So to see him return was such a strange. It always bugs me, not bugs me, but I'm always really curious onto just why they brought him back. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great character, he's charming, he's witty and stuff, but the Trial of the Time Lord was a very unpopular story at the time, both by fans and the mainstream audiences. In fact, that was Colin Baker's final season before he was fired. And you want to remind your fan base of that? It's really strange. The actual reason is because John Nathan Turner and Andrew Cartnell, when they read the script, the character seemed a lot like Glitz, so they asked Ian Briggs to rewrite the story so that this original character could become Glitz. So that's why he's there. But I still find it extremely odd that they brought him back. It's just, I don't know, it's just really, it's just like, what? I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't bloody get it. I don't know what that was all about. The story starts off with the Doctor and Mel investigating Iceworld, this giant building that's on this particular planet, which this particular element is always facing away from its sun, and people from all over the universe come traveling here to pick up some stuff from... It's basically a intergalactic supermarket. In fact, Ice World, fun fact, is actually a riff on the British supermarket Iceland. Bet you didn't know that. And this is right off the bat. This story has a very striking look. Everything in the background is really white, and it's got this campy, like on ice feeling. And I think with a better director, this story could have actually looked pretty amazing. The sets seem to be amazing, but the directing really lets it down and makes it feel really like a kids show. And I mean that in like the bad sense, in that like it's talking down to its audience. And yeah, and the Doctor and Mel, they go to the cafe where they meet Glitz, who is he's in a bit of a bother, he's in a bit of a trouble. For you see, whilst he's been in Ice World, he's been gambling to the point where he even had to sell his entire crew to the leader of the Ice World, Kane. So the Doctor and Mel decide to basically help him out, and whilst they're there, they start talking to the waitress there, Ace. Or at least she says her name is Ace. People call her Ace. And she seems to be really hot-tempered, really on edge. There's a scene where a mother asks her to stir up her milkshake because there's lumps in it. And Ace, basically like anti-authority figure, throws the milkshake all over the mother's head. So right off the bat, Ace is a striking character. Throughout the story, she gets a lot of scenes with Mel. In fact, her and the Doctor are hardly together in this story, and I think that's one of the big things that people really like about Ace is her relationship with the Doctor. In later stories like Remembrance of the Daleks and Ghostlight and The Curse of Fendrick. But here she's put up mainly with Mel, and not only does she suffer because of it, despite some really good scenes, the writing sometimes comes off like a really real child-friendly, that sounds really, I don't know how to describe it, pantomime. I don't want to use pantomime all the time, but I keep referring to that word when talking about the 7th Doctor era. It's very pantomime. But that's not to say that Ace doesn't have her good moments. She has some fantastic scenes in here. Mainly, there's some great scenes where she's talking about her family and her life, her background, and that, people just don't understand her. She has like an artistic expression, and people don't understand her point of view. And there's a really great scene when she's talking about when she was on Earth back in the 1980s. She felt like somebody else in another person's body, as if her real parents were going to one day come for her. And she got caught up in what she calls a time storm, which is how she got onto Ice World. And she explains that when she went through this time thing, she kind of felt like she was getting taken to where she belonged. However, she still works as a waitress, and she's getting tired of of being a waitress, and so she hopes to either travel with the Doctor or Glitz by the end of the story. And it's strange because Ace gets a lot of great moments in this story. She gets fantastic moments, both in terms of character beats, like I mentioned, but she also has her really bloody cool moments. Yeah, we're going to talk about the Nitro 9 stuff. Mel goes into Ace's room where it's all like really scruffy and there's clothes everywhere. And Ace basically explains that she's got a huge fascination with explosives. And she has her own homemade explosives called Nitro 9. And Ace, with some of these Nitro 9s, although it does feel like the writer relies on them way too much, as if like the writer's like, right, I can't think of anything for Ace to do at this moment. Let's just have a quote like some Nitro 9, Nitro 9, Nitro 9, Nitro 9. It does feel like that sometimes. One of my favourite lines actually is she's confronted with the villain and she's got a Nitro 9 basically threatening to blow everyone up. And I can't remember what the bad guy says, but Ace is like, would you really like to question that with an aerosol can that registers 9 on the Richter scale? That is fantastic dialogue. Really great dialogue. Let's talk about Kane for the moment. Kane is the owner of Iceworld, this supermarket in Storm. We later learn that he is a 500-year-old being, a criminal who was exiled here on this planet, along with a supposable dragon that lives beneath the caverns of Iceworld, and that Kane is basically trapped there. Although okay, there's two ways of looking at Kane as a villain. We've got his plan and his motivations, and really they don't make a lot of sense. Basically, he wants to get what is called the Dragonfire, so he can power up a certain device he can escape and travel the universe. But the only real issue with that is that he's basically built this supermarket, which is just a really strange career choice for a criminal who's in exile. This is his evil plan to indicate a supermarket. I just never noticed that. That's really strange. But what really is like dumbfounding is that he could just have easily stolen any ship. In fact, Glitz's ship, the Nosferatu, which I believe is a reference to the 1922 silent film Nosferatu, the German adaptation of Dracula, which is really good. If you like your silent movies, really check that out. That's really good. Glitz, once he's having an adventure with the Doctor, and Kane knows this. He's been tracking Glitz and the Doctor throughout the story. He could have easily just taken Glitz's ship, or any other ship for that matter. Why is he so determined to get the Dragonfire? He could escape whenever he wants, really. But on the flip side of that, we have the performance. Wow, what a performance. The guy who plays him not only Gert goes right into it, playing full villain throughout the majority of the story. He's just got like this sinister look, but it's never like so over the top that it's really distracting. It's always played at like a really good middle ground. And every time he's on screen, despite the fact that I think his plot and his ideas really don't add up, it kind of distracts me from the poor script that he's really given. Special, just the way he basically is a creature who lives in like sub-zero environments, so he has to stay like cold all the time, and his hands are actually like liquid nitrogen, and he kills people by just putting his hands on their cheeks. We also have a really weird scene where he has in his like secret, like in his bedroom, basically a sculpture made of ice by this really old guy who doesn't speak, and he kills him right after he does it. It's like, thank you. Nobody. This is so perfect, and nobody who will see it will live, especially you. Goodbye. And the guy just stands there while he just goes. It's a really bizarre scene. I've kind of waffled on a bit. I wasn't expecting it to take so long to get to the cliffhanger to part one. The moment this story is known for. The Doctor basically gets lost underneath the caves looking for this dragon, which Mel and Ace find. And one of the huge criticism is that they build up this dragon, and then you actually see it, and then it's like, that's not a dragon. That's a giant bug man at best. At worst, it's a really bad alien ripoff. The Doctor is looking around for glitz, and he finds a cliff with a barricade, and he looks down to the cliff, and something kind of takes his eye. We never know what it is, but anyway, he goes over the railings, puts his umbrella down, and then decides to seemingly hang himself from his umbrella, putting himself in such an awkward position where there was no way that if nobody came to help him, he could survive that. And it just comes out of nowhere. And there's no explanation onto why he does this. Some say it's actually the best cliffhanger because it's an actual cliffhanger. It's the Doctor hanging from a cliff, which is really funny if you think about it. But what I find really funny is that not only is there two explanations behind the scenes on what was originally supposed to happen, but none of them seem to make any sense when you think about them too hard. Reason number one is that Ian Briggs wrote that the Doctor came to the end of the corridor, and so he is like, with no other way, he tries to get to the lower levels and get stuck, essentially. I mean, okay. And then with the sets and stuff got mixed up. It was just a line of corridor with a balcony to facing the cliff. Even if we went by the script, it still doesn't make any sense on why he would go to such to put himself such in a risk just to go, because it's not like it's like a small, it's like a like a few buildings long, like, dip. It just doesn't make any sense. However, Chris Clout actually claims that there was an explanation given, but it was cut for time's sakes, which really doesn't make any sense because, A, if you're going to cut that scene, why don't you just cut the entire thing? It's not like you're missing out of a cliffhanger. We had Mel and Ace interact with the dragon. But beside the point is, we've never actually seen this this deleted footage, and we never get, we don't actually know, at least I personally anyway, don't know what the actual original clip was supposed to entail. What was he trying to do? It just baffles the mind, and it honestly looks like the Seventh Doctor has just decided to take his own life. Bit depressing, I know, but it just doesn't. Can you see what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, that's like the main that's what this story is known for. It's known for its cliffhanger, which makes no sense and has no idea. The resolution on it is also incredibly weak, as Glitz comes to the Doctor's aid. The Doctor again never actually explains why he did this, but all of a sudden the size between like the floor, or at least a part of a floor, of a lower level, and the thing is so short that Glitz can actually climb himself around the Doctor and land on the ground and pick up the Doctor from beneath him. What? Where the hell was that? Didn't make any sense. On the bright side, we get to see a great scene of Sylvester McCoy's showing off his acrobatic skills as he climbs around Solomon Glitz in a really funny scene. And yeah, for the rest of the story, really I can talk about is its scenes. I think this story suffers a lot when it comes to, when you think about the plot and its structure. But if you take the story by individual scenes, it has a lot going for it. And it's actually really enjoyable. In fact, Andrew Cartnell has said this is his favourite story of this season. And I can understand why. Personally, I prefer Paradise Towers. That's just me. But this has a lot of great moments. Another great example is that Glitz asks the Doctor to help him get his ship back to Nosferatu. And to distract the guard, the Doctor tries to indulge him in physiological. Wow, I'm just gonna give up. Discussion, and the guard actually does start talking I can't even, no, just giving up. And after Glitz gets into his ship, the Doctor then struggles to get this guy to shut up, essentially. That's a great scene. It's a bit undermined when, right in the next scene, when we see Glitz being held captive by one of Kane's women, who she's trying to escape from him because she was being his servant for so many years. The Doctor immediately finds himself onto the ship, which just brings up questions. How? What happened to the guard? we never see that guard again. So yeah, it's like that. We get great moments, but then there's just, in terms of plot, it's got great character moments and great character beats, but when we actually look at the plot in its entirety, it really doesn't work. There's this little subplot with a little girl, and she has some like really nice scenes, but again, her plot really doesn't add up to much. So the Doctor interacts with the dragon and finds that he is actually a robot who is actually like the jailer, and he actually stores the energy of the ice world, the secret energy that the Dragonfire that Kane is looking for. And after the dragon has been destroyed, the Doctor takes the Dragonfire and actually goes up to Kane to basically, because he's working out something to do with the constellations of the stars. Throughout the story, the Doctor's like, when he talks about the home world of Kane, I can't remember the planet's name is, but the Doctor's like, why does that sound so familiar? Is something in the future or in the past? I don't know. Something like that. And then, like in the end of the story, it clicks. Before you actually go into the ending, and something I really want to talk about is that this is the second story in a row. I don't think I actually talked about it in Delta and the Bannerman, but this is the second story in a row in terms of television where basically almost all the side characters get killed off by getting fired at in a vehicle. At the end of Delta and the Bannerman, all the holiday makers from space get killed by the Bannerman. And in this story, whilst everybody is evacuating into the Nosferatu, Kane then orders the ship to blow up, killing everybody on it. Luckily, the little girl and her mother escaped, and Glitz wasn't on it. He couldn't get to it in time. But that's like the majority of the cast, at least like the background characters, dead. And the Doctor never actually learns this. Never... oh my god, it just occurred to me, none of the characters, apart from Kane, learns. They all think that like they just like stole Glitz's ship. That's really interesting. It didn't click. Kane then basically reveals that like the Dragonfire powers the ice world, which turns out to be a gigantic spaceship, which he plans to go around freezing people, taking their memories and using them as slave labour. The zombies in this story really don't make much sense, because we got a lot of explanations that this cryogenic frozen state makes people lose all their memories up to the moment where they've been when they get revived. But the way the story acts upon it is if they're being mind controlled. My fan theory is that Kane, because he's such a cold-themed villain, he can actually control people who are extremely cold. That's my fan theory anyway. And the ship is about to head off, but the Doctor basically points out something. That, look at your star charts. Have you noticed something? That sun you used to call your own, was once a cold blue sun, radiating cold. And all your people used to live off that sun. But look at it now. Now it's gone supernova. Now it's a neutron star, and it destroyed its surrounding planets that orbited it. All of your species are dead. And Kane kind of freaks out to this, kind of opens the window, revealing the sun, exposing himself and killing him dead. The effect of his death is really cool. Like his face like melts away. I believe it's the same effect that was used during Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Indiana Jones film. And the story ends with Mel saying goodbye to the Doctor, saying it's her time to leave. It's strange because I really didn't like Mel, and her explanation. It's again, her ending is a great example of the things of this story. It has great moments. I mean, the dialogue when the Doctor's saying there's like there's no time, Mel, while she's trying to say like her goodbyes. But then just before she leaves, the Doctor kind of like has like a somber moment to himself as he's reflecting on everything, on how he hadn't met her yet. And then he basically is like, oh, I'm sorry, Mel. Whilst you're on your travels, don't forget about me, will you? And it's a really great scene. And Sylvester McCoy's performance is absolutely spot on. It's a shame, however, the moment isn't earned, as Mel leaving at this time with Glitz feels really odd. For example, they don't even know what year they're in. Presumably, Mel has family members. I mean, we know this from the Wrong Doctors, but not on this. Not in this story anyway. And she basically tells Glitz that she's going to travel with him for a while until she gets back to Earth. But again, in the really distant future, how she's planning on getting back, and what triggered her to leave? What made her go, right then, Doctor, it's time to say goodbye? Nothing turns, nothing triggers it. But it's a powerful scene, and if you want to look up some clips on YouTube, I highly recommend it. It's a fantastic scene. And Mel basically is like, Doctor, Ace is out of time, and she has nowhere to go. And so the story ends with Mel saying goodbye and Ace about to head off, whilst the Doctor's like, which way would you like to go? The short route with Glitz or the scenic route with me? And travel across the 7 universes and back for Pedivale in time for tea. And Ace is like, yes. Throughout the story, she uses, don't like when people are like, yes. She goes, Ace, which would be an okay character trait if her name wasn't Ace herself. At least she doesn't call herself Ace. Because her going, right, my name's Ace, and then going, Ace is like, remember my name, this is my catchphrase. It's really cringy, that's really bad. Luckily she doesn't do it a lot after this story. And the Doctor starts travelling with Ace, the final companion of the classic series. Fun fact, Sophie Aldred and Sylvester McCoy have the same birthday. That's cool. And so that's Dragonfire. Overall, I really don't know how to feel about this. The story is an absolute mess. Every time something gets set up, it's set up wrongly and doesn't really help to pay off its plot points and its character beats. However, those character beats, the scenes with Ace talking about her family life, the scenes with the Doctor tricking himself out of a situation and learning more, are so good. And the villain is, and basically this criticism goes throughout the entire story, with the main aspect being the villain. Kane is such... I would really have liked to see Kane find a way to return, because I think he deserves another chance. I love the performance. I love like the way he speaks. It's just a shame that in terms of him being with his plan and him being set up, just really doesn't work for what the story's trying to do. And obviously that cliffhanger really does suck. But there you go, that's Dragonfire. So join me next time when the Doctor and Ace get caught up with a battle against two factions of robot mutated Nazis in the 1960s as the Doctor goes back home to the junkyard. So join me next time for Remembrance of the Daleks. And I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-da!